Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another exciting edition of Change the F Up. I am, of course, your host with the most, Nate the Effing Great. Welcome to the only place where the format is never the change, and that's the way, I like it. Alright, guys, of course, as always, on Spreaker.com, iTunes, Player.fm, PodDirectory.com, Stitcher.com, TuneIn Radio, IW Nerd, Satchel Podcast Player, and, of course, Castbot.fm. So much, you guys. And, of course, we got to give a shout out to our sponsors, ProWrestlingCrate.com, as well as AJsBelts.com. Very proud to call them sponsors for the Squirt Circle podcast, for Change the F Up, for Evolve Productions. All right, guys, before I get into this review podcast, where I will be talking about Rogue One as well as Assassin's Creed, you're going to get a double feature. A couple things I want to make. A couple of announcements I want to make. There we go. That's what I wanted to say. So, January 1st is going to indeed be a big moment for not only Squirt Circle Podcast, not only Change the F Up, but for Evolve Productions in its entirety, because we have an announcement that is going to shake the very foundation of the Central Wisconsin platform. So definitely you want to listen in on the podcast on that day, because you are going to love every minute of it. And of course, on that day, because I've reached that milestone, thank you so much to all the fans that have followed me on Twitter, and because of you guys, I've reached 1,000 followers on the Twitter. Thank you so much for your support, and I look forward to getting continual support. That is where I will be doing my YouTube challenge video, so be sure to check that out on my YouTube channel, Mr. NTG1990. I will also post a link up on my Twitter at Nate Effin Great, so be sure to check that out. Also, I want to give a big shout out to all the fans that have listened in to this podcasting channel for the last year and a half. Because of you guys, we have reached about 8,000 listens here on our Spreaker.com channel. Honestly, you guys, this is really cool. So thank you so much for your support and for all your kind remarks and for even your negative remarks, because, you know, nothing is wrong with conflict. So thank you so much for all your support, and thank you for all the continuous support that you give us in the near future. All right, so I'm going to talk about the exciting movies that indeed happened this past week, that myself and Squirt Circle Podcast champion Max Speedy, we went to both movies. I actually went to see Assassin's Creed twice, and all in all, let's just get right into, I'm going to start off with Assassin's Creed, and for those of you that don't want any spoilers, you don't want anything to, you know, if you don't want spoilers, you guys don't listen to this podcast, because there's going to be a lot of spoilers in this podcast, where I will be revealing what is going on with the movies, how I felt about them, how they were all presented, and even some of the negative feedback even some of the positive and negative feedback, I should say, about the movies. So let's just get right into it, starting off with Assassin's Creed, because I've seen that twice. This, honestly, was one of the more intimidating movies, because you have to remember that in the past, a lot of video game movies that were started off as video games and they went on to movies, some of them have not really been so good. I believe that Doom was one of them, as well as Lara Croft, the Tomb Raider, was another one that was kind of a flop. There are a lot of other movies that I could probably name, but I'm not going to waste that much time. So Assassin's Creed definitely was one of those ones I was worried about going in to see. But we went in, after the previews, everything was done, and first thing that we saw was a little bit of like a Star Wars deal, where they basically talked about the history of what was going to be basically the main focal point for the movie, and that was going to be the Apple of Eden. Apparently this is the apple that contains the very first sin that man ever did, and that they were going to use that power to control free will. So it basically starts off talking about the war between the Templars and the Assassins, which I thought is great. I love the fact that they incorporated that big time. So they did that. They went through initiation with Aguilar, the main character for the Assassin's Creed. Basically committing the oath about how, no lives are meaningful, our lives mean nothing, that we work in the dark to serve the light. This was just a beautiful way to do it. It was just an initiation, and everything there was just awesome. I loved every single thing about this. Then we transitioned to the present day deal, which of course they're going to probably have that for any future Assassin's Creed movies, and it really does feel like it's part of the game, where you have the whole video game aspect, and then you also have the whole real life aspect of it. So there was a lot of switching between them. I think that the real life aspect of it kind of took over a little too much. I think that myself and Maxby really agreed on that. But all in all, this was a damn good movie. So fast forward to what basically happened about this. A lot of this took place in like the 1400s. Then they would fast forward to 1986. Yes, 86. And they would focus on this kid named Cal. He was trying to do some kind of stunt, but didn't work out too well. Then he comes home to find his mother dead and killed by his father, who is apparently an assassin. And he says, they found us, tells him to run. He runs off. 30 years later, he is on death row for capital murder. And basically, he is killed off, but then surprisingly brought back to life by a doctor by the name of Sophia, who basically tells them that they want his past, they want to know where this Apple of Eden is, and that his bloodline actually connects with Aguilar, the person that they're looking for. So when they go to the Animus scene, this was actually very, very cool. Because the Animus, from what they made it out to be, was that they had this crane that basically clamped around the person that they were experimenting with. Then they had like this wire that they would put on the back of the vertebrae, and they're able to find a way to basically tap into Cal's mind, where he has these memories of his ancestor and where certain things were. And all in all, this was just a beautiful setup, and all in all, just a great visualization. You see how well they were able to incorporate, again, the past aspect as well as the present aspect. It was just awesome. And you also see a little bit of the visualization where they go back to the present time. It's almost like holograms, where they're showing off what's basically going on, so that they know kind of what's going on and what he's thinking. And it starts off with the assassins trying to find the prince, and that is Sultan Muhammad's kid, who apparently knows where the Apple of Eden is. And these Templars are basically saying that if they can find the prince, they capture him, the Sultan will, surrender immediately and give up the apple, which is unfortunately what it has started off as. They found the prince, and they were just about to kill all the people that were trying to protect the prince. But then the assassins came in. Awesome fight scenes, awesome deal. But then we see a little bit of a break here. And the reason why is because Sophie knew that Cal did not have that much strength. He needs to really have full strength in order to do this. And unless he has full strength mentally and physically, there's no way that this is going to work out immensely, because he's going to end up getting probably cardiac arrest, or he's just going to end up, his brain probably would have exploded, something like that. They do a lot of explaining of where the facility was, and they talk about all the other assassins, show off a lot of how they know Cal's history. Really great stuff. And you also get introduced to a bunch of other characters who really have characteristics themselves, but they also are very quiet. I mean, the assassins part, I think only about 3 out of 4 actually talked during the movie. The final one, she didn't say anything, which was very interesting. But all in all, I guess you don't need everybody to talk, so fair enough. he eventually goes back into the Animus, and goes. It's from there. It goes from escaping, getting burned at the stake with Aguilar and his partner, where they barely escaped. And then next scene, Aguilar does this whole leap of faith, which I think is just an awesome spot. For those of you that don't know the Assassin's Creed games, basically what the leap of faith is that somebody just jumps off from the building and either lands in a haystack or something soft. It is just awesome to see. But when that leap of faith happened, Cal actually suffered from, I'm trying to remember what exactly it was, but it was just something really bizarre. He just was shaking, he was foaming at the mouth, and eventually Sophie's father realizes that, they don't have much time, so he says, get him back in the Animus, and she says, no, he's not ready. He has to go back in on his own free will, and he has to be, fully 100% ready to go. And he basically brings Cal into a facility in which they talk about, his dad, Cal's dad, and they talk about what he would do, and that would be kill him for killing his mother. And basically, Sophie's dad gives him the blade that Cal's dad used to kill his mom. And he said, he's in this room right now. Cal and his father reunite, and it is anything but emotional. It's one of those things where Cal is just like, I could kill you right now. And Cal's dad was just saying, like, you'd be doing me a favor. You'd be saving the Creed. Just don't go back to the Animus and don't show him where the apple of Eden is. And Cal figures that if he does that the first person that they would destroy would be his father. So he figures this is something that would really help me more than help anybody else. So fast forward a bit, again, he goes back into the Animus on his own accord, and he eventually finds the Apple of Eden, and they find out that the Apple of Eden has been given to Christopher Columbus, and that his body was buried nearby where their facility is at in Spain. And it just gets really, really good because they show off, again, all the great stories that are familiar with the Assassin's Creed. During the movie, the Animus actually gets disabled, and the holograms, there's just a bunch of assassins that come in. It's like every single assassin from the Brotherhood, and we even get to see Cal's mom and dad there basically reciting the oath, reciting the initiation to Cal, and Cal responds back, of course, with that initiation. So, during this movie, Sophie was mentioning that Cal is suffering what is basically called the bleeding effect, and because that he's tapping into his mind, he's getting all of these hallucinations of Aguilar, his ancestor. And from those hallucinations, he's learning how to fight. He's learning how to use these weapons. He's learning how to become a better person physically, mentally. And he's